No one can stop me! We'll face whatever's waiting out there. The Grand Line. That's where the One Piece is. Nothing's gonna stop us.
The sea tests every soul that dares to dream. Let's see if you and your friends survive the storm, Luffy.
What is that?
Every dream has a price, Luffy. Let's see if you're ready to pay yours.
Pirates, bounty hunters, Marines. Everyone's after us now. But I'm not stopping until I find the One Piece.
You know that feeling when a show ends, right when things are finally getting exciting? That's exactly what happened with One Piece Season 1. Just when Luffy finally gathered his crew, defeated some powerful enemies, and started making a name for himself across the seas, it suddenly stopped. But here's the thing, those last few moments actually hinted at something much bigger coming next. New enemies were already being teased. Powerful Marines were starting to pay attention, and the Straw Hats were getting closer to the most dangerous sea in the world. Season 2 isn't just another chapter of the story, it's where the real adventure begins. So before the Straw Hats continue their journey, there are a few important things you should remember from Season 1. Trust me, these details are about to matter a lot. 10. Where we left off. Before we jump into everything Season 2 is about to bring, it's important to remember exactly where the story left the Straw Hats. At the end of Season 1, Luffy and his crew had just survived one of their toughest challenges so far, the battle at Arlong Park. That fight wasn't just another victory for the crew, it was the moment that proved something important. Luffy wasn't just some reckless kid dreaming about becoming the king of the pirates. He was someone powerful enough to challenge dangerous enemies and protect the people who believed in him. After defeating Arlong, the crew finally had a moment to breathe, but that peace didn't last long. Word about Luffy's actions started spreading across the seas, and the world government took notice. For the first time, Luffy received an official bounty on his head, and in the world of pirates, that's a big deal. A bounty means the authorities now see you as a real threat. This moment also gave us one of the most iconic scenes for the crew. The Straw Hats gathered together, placed their feet on a barrel, and declared their personal dreams. Luffy wants to become the king of the pirates. Zoro wants to become the world's greatest swordsman. Nami wants to map the entire world. Usopp dreams of becoming a brave warrior of the sea. And Sanji wants to find the legendary All Blue. That scene wasn't just emotional. It symbolized the crew officially committing to their journey together. But something interesting about the live-action version is that this moment actually happens earlier than it does in the original story. In the manga and anime, the barrel scene takes place right before the crew enters the Grand Line. In the live-action series, however, they show it sooner. That little change hints at something important. The crew is getting closer and closer to the Grand Line, the most dangerous sea in the world. And once they enter it, the stakes are going to rise dramatically. Season 2 will likely start with the Straw Hats preparing for that next big step in their adventure. Number 9. What happens next? Even though Season 1 covered most of the East Blue storyline, the Straw Hats actually haven't finished that part of the journey yet. There's still one important stop left before they can finally head into the Grand Line, and that place is Logtown. Now, Logtown might not be the longest arc in the story, but it's incredibly important. In fact, it's one of the most symbolic locations in the entire One Piece world. Why? Because this is the place where the legendary pirate king, Gold Roger, was executed. Years before Luffy ever set sail, Roger stood in front of a massive crowd in this very town. Instead of showing fear, he shocked the entire world with his final words. He told everyone that his legendary treasure, the One Piece, was real and waiting somewhere out there in the sea. Those words changed everything. Suddenly, people from all over the world rushed out to become pirates in hopes of finding that treasure. That single moment sparked what became known as the Great Pirate Era. The live-action series already showed a glimpse of that event through a flashback during the first season. We saw Roger standing before the crowd just moments before his execution. But Season 2 will likely take us back to Logtown in the present day, where Luffy and his crew will experience the town themselves. And things don't go smoothly there. Logtown becomes a chaotic place for the Straw Hats. Marines are everywhere, dangerous enemies begin to appear, and Luffy ends up facing one of the first major Marine officers determined to capture him. It's also the last stop before the Grand Line, which means this location acts as a kind of gateway to the next stage of the adventure. Once the Straw Hats leave Logetown behind, the world they enter will be far more dangerous, far more unpredictable, and far bigger than anything they've faced so far. Wait, the arc Season 2 will cover. Season 2 isn't just picking up the story, it's opening the door to an entirely new saga. While Season 1 mostly focused on the East Blue storyline, the next season will start exploring the much larger world that lies beyond it. After leaving Logetown, the Straw Hats will finally begin their journey toward the Grand Line. But before they dive fully into that massive sea, they'll pass through several important arcs that help build the bigger story. The first stop is Reverse Mountain. This is a very unusual place where multiple oceans meet, creating a bizarre route that ships must travel in order to reach the Grand Line. But the most memorable part of this arc isn't the mountain itself, it's the giant whale the crew encounters there. At first, it might seem like just a strange creature blocking their path, but this whale actually becomes a surprisingly meaningful character in the larger story. After that comes Whiskey Peak. On the surface, this place looks like a welcoming town filled with friendly people celebrating the Straw Hats' arrival. But as you might expect in the world of pirates, things aren't always what they seem. This arc becomes especially important for Zoro, giving him a chance to show off just how dangerous he really is when pushed into a fight. Next comes Little Garden, which might be one of the most interesting arcs to adapt into live action. This island feels almost prehistoric, filled with giant creatures and two legendary giant warriors locked in a battle that has lasted for decades. Seeing something like that brought into live action will definitely be a huge test for the show's visual effects. And finally, there's Drum Island. This arc introduces a character that fans have been waiting to see for a very long time. A small, lovable doctor who will eventually become one of the most important members of the Straw Hat crew. 7. The Threat of Baroque Works. While all these different islands and adventures might seem separate at first, there's actually a larger force connecting many of them behind the scenes. And that force is a mysterious organization known as Baroque Works. This group isn't just a random gang of criminals, it's a powerful and highly organized syndicate made up of dangerous agents working under a secret leader. Each member operates under a codename rather than their real identity, which makes the organization even more mysterious. For the Straw Hats, Baroque Works will become one of the biggest threats they've faced so far. Many of its agents possess devil fruit powers, making them incredibly dangerous opponents. Unlike some of the enemies from Season 1, these characters are skilled fighters who operate with strategy and coordination. What makes this organization even more interesting is that the live-action series already hinted at it during the first season. There was a flashback scene involving Zoro and a mysterious man known as Mr. Seven. In that moment, Mr. Seven tried to recruit Zoro into Baroque Works, recognizing his strength as a swordsman, but Zoro refused the offer. And instead of negotiating any further, he simply cut the man down. That scene was actually a clever addition by the live-action adaptation. In the original story, the encounter was only briefly mentioned, not fully shown. By expanding that moment, the show gave viewers an early glimpse of just how serious the Baroque Works organization is. Season 2 will likely explore this group much more deeply, revealing its agents and the dangerous mission they're secretly working toward. Sucker 6. Even more of Garp. One of the biggest changes the live-action adaptation made in Season 1 was the heavy presence of Vice Admiral Garp. In the original manga and anime, Garp doesn't play a major role until much later in the story, but the live-action version decided to introduce him much earlier, making him a constant presence chasing after Luffy. And honestly, that change worked surprisingly well. Garp adds an interesting layer to the story because he's not just a powerful marine officer, he's also Luffy's grandfather. That connection creates a strange dynamic where Garp wants to capture Luffy as a pirate, but at the same time, clearly cares about him. Throughout the first season, we saw Garp testing Luffy in his own way, almost like he was trying to see whether his grandson truly had the strength to survive the pirate world. We also saw him training two other important characters, Kobe and Helmeppo. Both of them started out as inexperienced recruits, but under Garp's tough training, they began transforming into stronger and more disciplined Marines. Now the big question going into Season 2 is how involved Garp will continue to be. actor Vincent Regan has confirmed that he filmed new scenes for the upcoming season, which means Garp's story is far from over. This likely means we'll also see more development for Kobe and Helmeppo as they continue learning under him. Their journey on the marine side of the story provides an interesting contrast to Luffy's pirate adventure, showing how both sides of this world are evolving at the same time. 5. Smoker and Tashigi enter the story. As the Straw Hats move closer to the Grand Line, they won't just be dealing with pirates anymore. A new Marine officer is about to step into the story, someone far more persistent and dangerous than the Marines Luffy has faced before. That man is Captain Smoker. Unlike many other Marines who underestimate pirates, Smoker takes his job very seriously. He's not easily fooled, and once he decides to chase someone, he doesn't stop. That makes him one of the most relentless opponents Luffy will face early in the journey. The live-action series already teased his arrival right at the end of Season 1. If you remember that moment, someone was seen burning Luffy's wanted poster with a cigar. That small scene was actually the first hint that Smoker had entered the story. Smoker isn't just another Marine officer either. He possesses a devil fruit power that allows his body to turn into smoke, making him extremely difficult to fight against. For Luffy and the crew, this becomes a serious problem because physical attacks don't work the way they normally would. Alongside him is his loyal subordinate, Tashigi. She's a skilled swordswoman who takes justice very seriously. But what makes her interesting is her strong sense of morality. She believes powerful weapons shouldn't fall into the hands of criminals, which often puts her at odds with pirates. Her character also creates an unexpected dynamic with Zoro. The moment they meet, there's an unusual tension between them that fans of the story will immediately recognize. Together, Smoker and Tashigi represent a new type of threat for the Straw Hats. They're not villains, but they are determined to stop pirates like Luffy no matter what. And once Smoker starts chasing someone, escaping him is never easy. 4. Oda's continued involvement. Live-action anime adaptations have a reputation. And honestly, it's not a very good one. Over the years, fans have seen plenty of attempts to bring anime into live action, and many of them completely missed what made the original stories special. That's why so many people were nervous when the One Piece live-action series was first announced. But the reason the first season ended up working so well comes down to one very important factor: Eiichiro Oda himself. Oda, the creator of One Piece, was heavily involved in the production of the series. And he didn't just give a few suggestions here and there. He actively supervised the project to make sure the story, characters, and tone stayed true to his vision. In fact, there were several moments during production where scenes had to be changed or even reshot because Oda wasn't satisfied with how they turned out. That level of involvement is pretty rare. For fans, it was reassuring because it meant the person who understands the world of One Piece better than anyone else was helping guide the adaptation. And the good news is that his involvement isn't stopping with Season 1. Everything we've heard so far suggests that Oda is continuing to work closely with the production team for Season 2. That means the upcoming arcs, characters, and major story moments are being carefully handled to stay faithful to the original story. For a series as massive and beloved as One Piece, that kind of creative oversight makes a huge difference. It's one of the biggest reasons fans are feeling confident about where the live-action story is heading next. Number 3. Tony Chopper. Now this is the character fans have probably been waiting for the most. After Season 1 ended, one of the biggest questions people kept asking was simple: how are they going to bring Tony Chopper into live action? For anyone unfamiliar with the character, Chopper is the Straw Hats' doctor. But he's not exactly human. He's actually a reindeer who gained human-like intelligence and abilities after eating a special devil fruit. In the anime and manga, Chopper is adorable, emotional, and incredibly expressive. That's part of what makes him such a fan favorite, but it also created a big challenge for the live-action adaptation. Unlike most characters, Chopper can't simply be played by a regular actor. His appearance requires heavy visual effects, or CGI, which immediately raised concerns among fans about how well the show could pull it off. Some people even worried that the live-action series might skip him entirely to avoid the difficulty. Thankfully, that doesn't seem to be the case. When the second season was first confirmed, one of the earliest announcements made it clear that Chopper would definitely be appearing. And later, fans even got a first look at how the character will be portrayed. The early preview showed impressive CGI work, suggesting the production team is taking the character very seriously. Chopper will also be voiced by actress Michaela Hoover, bringing personality and emotion to the character. If the adaptation handles him well, Chopper could easily become one of the highlights of Season 2 and a brand new favorite for viewers discovering the story for the first time. Number 2. Setting up the Arabasta saga. Many fans originally hoped that Season 2 would fully adapt one of the biggest storylines in early One Piece, the Arabasta saga, but the upcoming season won't quite reach that point yet. Instead, it will focus on setting up the story that eventually leads there. Think of it as laying the foundation for a much larger conflict that's building in the background. Even though the full Arabasta storyline won't happen yet, several important characters connected to that arc will still appear in Season 2. One of them is King Nefertari Cobra, the ruler of the desert kingdom of Arabasta. His presence introduces viewers to the political struggles affecting that region of the world. Another major character is Portgas D. Ace, Luffy's older brother. Ace is an extremely popular character among fans, known for his powerful abilities and strong bond with Luffy. Seeing him appear in live action is something many viewers have been eagerly waiting for. And then there's the mysterious villain known as Crocodile. In the original story, Crocodile operates mostly from the shadows at first. His physical appearance is hidden while he communicates with others using a device known as a transponder snail. That mystery surrounding him makes his eventual reveal even more dramatic. Season 2 will likely start introducing his presence while keeping some of that mystery intact, slowly building tension for the larger conflict ahead. In many ways, this season is like the calm before a massive storm in the story. 1. The Future, Season 3. Now, here's the question many fans started asking once it became clear that Season 2 wouldn't fully cover the Arabasta storyline. If the story is building toward that arc, does that mean we're getting another season? The answer is yes. Netflix has already confirmed that a third season of the live-action One Piece is in development. In fact, production has already started filming new episodes in Cape Town, South Africa. That's actually a really good sign for fans. One of the biggest complaints with many streaming shows is the long gap between seasons. Sometimes viewers have to wait 2 or even 3 years before the story continues. But if filming is already underway, there's a good chance the wait between Season 2 and Season 3 will be much shorter. And Season 3 will likely be the one that fully dives into the Arabasta saga, the massive storyline involving political conspiracies, dangerous enemies, and one of the most intense battles the Straw Hats face in the early part of their journey. So, in many ways, Season 2 isn't just a continuation of the story. It's the bridge that connects the first adventure to something much bigger waiting ahead. And there you have it. Everything you should remember before the Straw Hats return for the next chapter of their adventure. Now, we want to hear from you. Which moment are you most excited to see in the live-action version? Is it the arrival of Chopper, the introduction of Smoker, or the start of the Grand Line journey? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow One Piece fans, and subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns, stories, and deep dives into your favorite shows. Because the adventure is only getting started, and the Grand Line is waiting.